Right now, somewhere in your home, your dog might be doing the one thing almost no other animal on Earth will do to a human face on purpose. It's looking straight into your eyes, and it's holding it. Here's the part nobody tells you. In the language your dog was born speaking, a hard, direct stare is not affection. Between two dogs who don't trust each other, locking eyes is a warning, a challenge that can tip into a fight. Wolves use it too. So by every rule of your dog's ancestry, staring straight into your face should be the last thing it ever wants to do, and yet it does. It seeks your eyes out. It softens. Sometimes it even seems to relax more the longer you look back. In the next few minutes, I'm going to show you exactly what's happening inside that gaze, a measurable hormone loop, a muscle your dog grew that wolves don't have, and a 33,000-year-old rewrite of instinct. But I'm also going to show you the part the feel-good videos skip, the stares that are not love at all, and the one kind of staring that should send you to a vet. This is PetMindLabs. Let's stop guessing and start seeing. Let's start by taking your dog stares because it loves you off the table for a second. Not because it's wrong, because it's lazy. It skips the most interesting fact in the whole story. In canine communication, eye contact is loaded. A steady, unblinking stare aimed at another dog is one of the clearest pressure signals there is. It says, "I see you, back off, this is mine." Dogs read it instantly. That's why a confident dog will hold a stare, and a dog trying to keep the peace will do the opposite. It'll flick its eyes away, turn its head, lick its lips, go soft. Looking away is not weakness, it's diplomacy. It's how dogs avoid fights before they start. We actually have eye-tracking data on how carefully dogs watch faces. In a 2016 study published in PLOS ONE, researchers tracked exactly where dogs looked when shown different facial expressions. Dogs went to the eyes first, and spent more time on the eye region than on the nose or the mouth. The eyes were the anchor, and when the face was threatening, the dog's behavior split by species. A threatening dog face made them stare longer, locked in, but a threatening human face made them look away. Avoidance. Appeasement. Notice how specific that is. The dogs weren't just avoiding scary things in general. They were doing the socially skillful thing, reading the eyes, then choosing to diffuse a human threat instead of escalating it. That's the same appeasement move a polite dog makes with another dog. I see the tension, and I'm choosing to lower it. The eyes carry the message. The rest of the body carries the reply. So sit with the contradiction. Dogs treat the eyes as the single most important part of a face. They know a hard stare is dangerous. Their whole instinct is built to break eye contact to stay safe. And then with you, they throw that rulebook out. They find your eyes, and they hold them, calmly, on purpose, sometimes for a long time. That is not a small thing. That's an animal overriding a deep, self-protective reflex, specifically for one species. The question isn't really, does my dog love me? The question is, what changed in the dog that made looking into a human's eyes feel safe, even good, when every wolf instinct says it should feel like a threat? And before we go on, let me kill the myth that usually rushes in to fill this gap. You've probably heard some version of it, that you should stare your dog down to show you're the alpha, to establish dominance, to be pack leader. Throw that out. It's built on a badly outdated idea of wolf packs that the original researcher himself later spent years trying to correct. Staring your dog down doesn't teach it respect. It does exactly what a hard stare has always done in dog language. It applies threat and pressure. With a confident dog that can provoke a fight, with a soft one, it just teaches fear. Nothing in the real science of the gaze is about winning a staring contest. It's the opposite. The bond is built on the soft look, not the hard one. To answer why dogs break the rule, we have to look at two things at once. What's happening in the body during that gaze? And what happened to the dog's face over thousands of years to make the gaze possible in the first place? The story of measuring that gaze doesn't start with a famous headline. It starts quietly, in 2009, when researchers first ran a small experiment on a hunch. The hunch was this: maybe a dog looking at you isn't just a behavior, maybe it's a chemical event. So they had owners interact with their dogs, then split the dogs into groups by one variable: how much each dog gazed at its owner. Then they measured the owner's oxytocin, the bonding hormone, in urine, before and after. The owners of the dogs that gazed the most had a measurable rise in oxytocin. The owners of the dogs that barely looked did not. Same room, same time, same species. The difference was the eyes. That was the first solid thread. Your dog looking at you does something to your body chemistry. But a single small study is just a thread. The question was whether you could pull on it and find a whole loop. 6 years later, they did. In 2015, A team led by Nagasawa published the follow-up in the journal Science, and it became one of the most cited pieces of dog science of the last decade. The setup built directly on the 2009 idea. They brought dogs and their owners into a room and let them interact for half an hour. They measured oxytocin in both the humans and the dogs, before and after, through urine samples. But this time, they added a crucial comparison group. Wolves, raised by humans, tested the same way. Here's what they found. The more a dog gazed at its owner, the more the owner's oxytocin went up. And when the owner's oxytocin went up, the owner naturally gave more affection back, more touch, more talk, more looking. And that, in turn, raised the oxytocin in the dog. A loop. Gaze feeds hormone, hormone feeds affection feeds hormone, and around it goes between two completely different species, with no words, running on eye contact. Now here's the line that turns a nice finding into a profound one. The wolves did not do this. Wolves, raised by humans, bonded to their handlers. In the same test, their gazing did not light up the same oxytocin loop. So this isn't just a mammal looked at another mammal and hormones happened. It's something that appears in the dog and not in its wild ancestor. Whatever this loop is, it looks like part of what it means to be a dog, specifically, rather than a wolf. Now, why is that such a big deal? Because of what oxytocin normally does. It's the hormone that surges when a mother holds her newborn, when people who trust each other touch, when a parent and infant lock eyes and the whole world narrows to that one face. It's the chemistry of, you are mine and I will care for you. That system is ancient, and for most of human history, it was reserved for our own kind, our babies, our partners, our closest people. Scientists commenting on that study, in the same issue of Science, put it bluntly. They said dogs had, essentially, hijacked the human bonding pathway, the exact hormonal system that ties a mother to her infant. Read that again. Your dog isn't using some separate pet fondness channel to reach you. It reached into the single most powerful bonding circuit your body owns, the one built for your own children, and found a way to switch it on with nothing but a look. No other domestic animal does this to us the way dogs do. That's the part worth sitting with. And then the researchers did something clever to check whether the gaze was really the cause. In a second experiment, they gave dogs a dose of oxytocin through a nasal spray, then let them back with their owners. The dogs, the females in particular, started gazing at their owners more, and the owner's oxytocin rose in response. So it runs both directions. Add the hormone, get more gazing. Add the gazing, get more hormone. That's what makes it a genuine loop instead of a one-way street. Now, here's where PetMindLabs is going to do something the other channels won't. I'm going to argue with the study I just sold you on, because the real science is more careful than the headline. That same year, other researchers published a formal commentary poking at the Nagasawa results, and their points are fair. First, the oxytocin jump didn't show up in every dog. It mostly showed up in the group that already gazed a lot, the long gaze dogs. The dogs that looked less didn't get the same spike. So this isn't a magic switch that fires in all dogs equally. Second, every dog in the study was an adult, which means we can't fully separate. Dogs evolved this over domestication. From this particular dog and owner learned it over years of living together. And third, a small, very human detail. At least one member of the research team ran the study with his own dogs, which is exactly the kind of thing that can nudge results. None of that means the loop is fake. The effect is real, and it's been built on since. It means the honest version of the sentence is not, eye contact magically makes your dog love you. It's, sustained, comfortable mutual gaze is linked to a measurable rise in the bonding hormone in both of you. Strongest in dogs that are already inclined to look. That's less of a bumper sticker. It's a lot more true. And knowing the difference is the whole reason a channel like this exists. And that some dogs gaze more than others, detail matters for you personally. So let me say it plainly. If your dog is not a big starer, that does not mean your dog loves you less. Gazing is one channel of a very rich language, and it varies with personality, with breed, and with history. Some breeds were shaped to work at a distance and read you constantly with their eyes. Others show devotion by leaning on you, following you, sleeping against you, or bringing you things. A rescue dog that learned early that human eye contact was dangerous may take months to feel safe holding your gaze, and when it finally does, that quiet look is worth more than 1,000 easy ones. So please don't score your bond on how long your dog stares. Read the whole animal, not just the eyes. So the hormone explains what the gaze does. It doesn't explain why the dog can stand to do it in the first place, when its wolf ancestors can't. For that, we have to talk about your dog's actual face, and this is where it gets almost eerie. In 2019, a team led by Kaminski published a study in PNAS that dissected the facial muscles of dogs and compared them to wolves. They were hunting for one specific muscle, tucked at the inner corner of the eye. Its name is the levator anguli oculi medialis. In plain terms, it's the muscle that raises the inner eyebrow. It's the muscle behind puppy dog eyes, that little lift that makes a dog's eyes look bigger, softer, almost childlike, almost sad. Here's the finding. In dogs, that muscle is there, consistently, as a formed muscle. In wolves, the dog's closest living relative, it's barely anything, just a scant, irregular scatter of fibers, not a working muscle. And when the researchers watched the animals, the behavior matched the anatomy. Exposed to a human for a couple of minutes, dogs raised those inner eyebrows far more often and far more intensely than wolves did. The most extreme puppy eyes were produced by dogs alone. Think about what that means. This isn't a trick your dog learned. It's hardware. Somewhere across roughly 33,000 years of living alongside us, dogs grew a muscle that wolves don't have, and its main job is to make a face that pulls at humans. The researchers who found it were genuinely surprised, because muscle anatomy usually changes over enormous spans of time. This changed fast. In evolutionary terms, the blink of an eye. And there's one detail I love. The one breed in their sample that didn't have the muscle was the Siberian Husky, one of the more ancient breeds, closer to the wolf end of the family tree. The further back toward the wolf you go, the more that puppy eyes hardware fades. It's a fingerprint of domestication written directly into the face. But here's the question that makes it click. Why would this muscle spread through dogs in the first place? The researchers' answer points straight back at us. When a dog raises that inner eyebrow, it does two things at once. It makes the eyes look bigger, more infant-like, more childlike. And the shape it makes closely resembles the face a human makes when we're sad. So when your dog throws that look, it's pressing two of our oldest buttons simultaneously. The urge to protect something small and young, and the urge to comfort someone who looks upset. We can't help it. We melt. And the team's argument is that this was, in effect, an unconscious selection pressure. Over generations, the dogs that could make that face got a little more care, a little more food, a little more of a foothold in human life, and passed the trait on. We didn't design puppy eyes on purpose. We fell for them, over and over, until they became standard equipment. So put the two layers together. Your dog has a muscle that wolves lack, evolved specifically to make an expressive, human-melting face, and it has a hormonal loop that turns eye contact with you into a shared shot of the bonding chemical. The stare isn't sentiment, it's engineering. Two systems, anatomy and chemistry, both pointed at the same target, you. There's one more layer, and it's the emotional foundation the other two are built on. Long before anyone measured oxytocin, researchers showed that dogs treat their owners the way a young child treats a parent. Back in 1998, a study adapted a classic test from child psychology, the strange situation, designed to measure attachment in infants, and ran it with dogs. The pattern matched. With their owner in the room, dogs were braver, more relaxed, more willing to explore. Their owner was a secure base, a safe anchor from which the world felt manageable. Take the owner away, and the dog's confidence dropped. That's the missing piece. The gaze isn't floating in a vacuum. It sits on top of a genuine attachment bond, the same category of bond a child has with a caregiver. When your dog looks to your eyes, part of what it's doing is what a toddler does in a strange room, finding the safe face, checking that the anchor is still there. The muscle makes the face possible, the hormone makes the loop rewarding, and the attachment is the reason the eyes go looking for you at all. Now, let's reframe the whole thing, because there's a deeper story under the muscle and the hormone, and it's about what the gaze is for. Go back to the wolves for a moment. In 2003, in a study in Current Biology, researchers gave dogs and hand-raised wolves a problem they couldn't solve: food sealed away in a container that simply would not open. Watch what each animal does when it hits the wall. The wolves keep working the problem themselves, alone, heads down. The dogs try, fail, and then they turn and look back at the human. They check your face. Faster, and for longer, than the wolves ever do. That, looking back, is the seed of everything. It's the dog saying, without a sound, "I'm stuck. You're part of how I solve this." The wolf treats the world as something to handle alone. The dog treats you as a teammate to consult. And gaze is the cable that connects the two of you. And notice how neatly this stacks on top of the muscle and the hormone. The muscle gives the dog a face that reaches us. The hormone makes the eye contact feel good to both sides. And this, the looking back reflex, gives the gaze a job. It turns eye contact into a request for help, a shared point of attention, a way of saying, we're in this together. A wolf is brilliant and independent. A dog is built to be a partner. Those are two completely different strategies for surviving in the world, and you can see the entire difference in one moment. The second the task gets hard, the wolf looks down at the problem, and the dog looks up at you. So when your dog looks into your eyes at home, it's often running a version of that same ancient move. Not always the deep bond, oxytocin-soaked gaze. Sometimes it's a question. Are we going out? Is that for me? Something's at the door. Did you hear it too? I don't know what to do. What do you think? Your dog looks at your face the way we glance at a trusted friend across a room when something happens. It's checking in. And this reflex to consult the human to make you the reference point appears to run astonishingly deep across cultures that share almost nothing else. This is the newest piece of the puzzle. In 2026, a study in Scientific Reports tested 164 dog and human teams in 5 very different places: Germany, Madagascar, Mongolia, Peru, and Vanuatu. Working dogs, hunting dogs, pets, in landscapes and cultures worlds apart. And the relationship came out looking almost the same everywhere. In every region, dogs read human gestures, communicated back, and leaned on their humans for guidance. When a task got hard, that same looking to you move. Different continents, different languages, same conversation between species. Think about why that mattered. If the gaze were purely a modern pet thing, a habit dogs pick up lounging on our couches, you'd expect it to look wildly different in a hunting dog in the Peruvian Amazon versus a family dog in a German apartment. It doesn't. The researchers found real differences at the edges, sure. Hunters in Vanuatu, who track wild boar through dense jungle where a split second of coordination decides the hunt, were much better at reading their dogs' signals than people elsewhere. German dogs, shaped by heavy formal training, leaned harder on their owner's commands. But those are dialects. The underlying language: dog reads human, dog checks in with human, dog relies on human when things get hard, was the same everywhere they looked. That's what rooted in evolution, not culture, actually means. It's older than any of the cultures it shows up in. That's the reframe. Your dog's gaze isn't just a feeling it has about you. It's a communication channel, one so fundamental it shows up in the highlands of Mongolia and the rainforests of the Pacific with the same basic grammar. When your dog looks into your eyes, it isn't only loving you, it's talking to you. And most of us are only half listening. So let's make this usable. Because if the gaze is a language, then you can learn to read it and read it accurately, instead of romanticizing every single stare. Here's how to tell your dog's gazes apart. The affection gaze, the one tied to that oxytocin loop, is soft. The eyes are relaxed, maybe half-lidded. You'll often get a slow blink. The forehead is smooth, the mouth loose, the body settled, and leaning toward you, not braced. This is the look you get on the couch, in a quiet moment, when nothing is being asked for. If your dog offers this, and you look back gently and calmly, you're feeding the loop. You don't need to force it or hold a staring contest. Just meet it, soften your own face, maybe talk low. That's the whole ritual. Then there's the stare with an agenda. Sharp, focused, alert, and it usually ping-pongs between your eyes and a thing. The leash, the bowl, the treat drawer, the ball under the couch. Picture the classic scene. It's 5 p.m., you're on the sofa, and your dog is sitting in front of you like a little statue, drilling holes in your face, then flicking its eyes to the kitchen, then back to you. That's not random. That's a sentence. It's dinner time. The food is over there. You are the one who makes food happen. This is your dog running that ancient, look back at the human move on purpose, because at some point it worked. You looked, you understood, you delivered, and you taught your dog that eye contact is the remote control for the human. That's not manipulation. It's communication. And it's the mark of a smart, engaged dog. Just know that whatever you do in the 10 seconds after that stare, you're reinforcing. Answer it every single time at the exact same moment, and you'll build a dog that lasers you through every meal. Be a little unpredictable about when the stare pays off, and you keep the communication without creating a tyrant. Now the one that matters most for safety, and the one the cute video internet completely ignores. Not every stare is love. A hard, frozen stare, especially paired with a stiff body, a closed, tense mouth, ears pinned or forward, or whale eye, where you can see the whites at the edges, is a warning. That's your dog's ancient threat signal doing exactly what it was built to do. You'll see it around a food bowl, a favorite toy, a bone, or when a dog feels cornered. The correct response is not to lean in, coo, and stare back. It's to soften, look away, give space, and take the pressure off the same diplomacy dogs use with each other. This is doubly important with dogs you don't know, and with children, who instinctively push their faces close and hold eye contact. To an anxious dog, that reads as a direct challenge. Teach kids to admire dogs with soft eyes and sideways bodies, never a hard face-to-face stare. And finally, the kind of staring that isn't communication at all. If your dog starts staring at nothing, at a wall, into a corner, off into space repeatedly, or seems to get stuck and zone out, especially if it's a senior dog, that is not a quirk to film. Persistent staring into space can be a sign of pain, a neurological issue, or canine cognitive dysfunction, the dog version of age-related cognitive decline. This is the one gaze where the answer isn't read the body language. The answer is call your veterinarian and describe exactly what you're seeing. Better a checkup that finds nothing than a symptom you filmed for 6 months. Now the fun part, you can actually strengthen that bond gaze on purpose, and it takes about 2 minutes. But there's a right way and a wrong way, and the wrong way backfires. The wrong way is to grab your dog's face and stare it down to prove your love. To a dog, that's pressure, the exact thing a hard stare means in their world. You'll make a nervous dog more nervous. Here's the right way. Get low and relaxed, on the floor or a couch, and let your dog come into the moment on its own terms. Don't summon the gaze, allow it. When your dog looks at your face, meet it softly. Relax your own eyes. Let your face go gentle, and give a slow blink. In dog body language, a slow blink is a peace signal, the opposite of a threat. Many dogs will blink back. Talk low and warm if you want. Keep it short and end it while it's still good. A few seconds of soft mutual gaze is worth more than a forced minute. Do that in the calm moments, and you're feeding the loop the science describes. Your attention up, their comfort up, the bond hormone rising on both ends, and know when not to. Don't run this with a dog you don't know, a dog that's guarding something, a dog that's scared, or a dog showing any of those warning signs from a minute ago. The bond gaze is for a relationship that already feels safe. With a strange or stressed dog, the kind thing and the smart thing is to be the human who doesn't stare. Put it all together, and the skill is simple. Don't read the eyes alone. Read the eyes plus the body. Soft eyes and a loose body is a bond. Hard eyes and a stiff body is a boundary. A hard focus that keeps flicking to the door is a request. And a blank stare at nothing is a phone call to your vet. Here's what I keep coming back to. For most of history, staring into another animal's eyes was a way to say, stay back. It was risk. It was threat. And somewhere in the long, strange story of dogs and humans, one animal took that same act, the stare, and turned it inside out. It made eye contact mean the opposite. It grew a muscle to soften its face for us. It wired its bonding chemistry to switch on when it looks at us. It learned to ask us questions with a glance, and it does this on 5 continents, in cultures that have never met. So the next time your dog finds your eyes across the room and just holds them, you don't have to wonder what it means. You can watch the body, read the softness, and know you're looking at something genuinely rare, an animal that decided, over thousands of years, that you were worth breaking the rules for. That's not sentiment. That's the measurable biological shape of a bond, and it's looking right at you. If this changed how you see your dog's eyes, do me a favor. Look at your dog tonight, notice which of those 4 gazes you're getting, and tell me in the comments what you saw. I read them. If you want to keep learning to see what your dog is actually saying instead of guessing, subscribe, because at PetMindLabs, that's the whole point. We turn the science of dog behavior into something you can actually watch happening on your living room floor. Next time, we're staying with the face why your dog tilts its head when you talk. I'm glad you're here. This is PetMindLabs. Stop guessing, start seeing. Staring is a threat in dog language. So why does your dog do it to you on purpose? Between 2 dogs, a hard stare means back off. Wolves too. Dogs are built to break eye contact to keep the peace. But with you, they seek your eyes out, and here's why. A 2015 science study found that when your dog gazes at you, oxytocin, the bonding hormone, rises in both of you. Gaze feeds hormone, hormone feeds affection, and it loops. Scientists said dogs hijacked the same bonding circuit that ties a parent to a child. They even grew the hardware for it. Dogs have an inner eyebrow muscle. Wolves basically don't the puppy eyes muscle, but watch the body. Soft eyes, slow blink equals love. Hard stare, stiff body, whale eye equals back off. Blank staring at walls, especially in old dogs, equals call your vet. Follow PetMindLabs. Stop guessing, start seeing. Quick one for dog people. In dog language, a hard stare is a threat. Dogs are built to break eye contact to avoid fights. So why does your dog look into your eyes on purpose? Because a 2015 science study found gazing triggers an oxytocin loop in both of you, and dogs even grew a puppy eyes muscle wolves don't have. But soft eyes equals love. Hard stare plus stiff body equals back off. New PetMindLabs video is live. What's your dog's stare telling you?